Can you imagine living in an era where diseases have eradicated what little humanity we have left? This is about some guys who spend their days and nights playing on the internet. So one day the guy's parents got fed up and sent them to a correctional facility. And here we meet the protagonist who wakes up thinking he's in a rich ice guy. Well, not everything is a product of his imagination, because as soon as he approaches a guy, he gets punched. Then the leaders of the correctional facility arrive, with Ella, the leader, who is a somewhat wrinkled hottie. Here they reveal that they have been transferred to an elite academy that will make them good people. The second guy, who stopped running, is fiercely beaten. Also, everyone is traumatized. Going back to the protagonist and the people, they are very insolent because, according to them, they cannot be hit. Then a leader arrives and beats up the most rebellious one, also letting everyone know that anyone who rebels will suffer the same fate. Minutes passed and the instructor leader took attendance of everyone there until he reached the protagonist and told him he was a worthless abandoned person. Meanwhile, we see his form being read by a purple-haired guy. It turns out that the protagonist isn't there for no reason but because his mother abandoned him and they will never see each other again. Obviously, the protagonist doesn't believe it because he thinks his mother wouldn't be capable of doing such things. However, the angry guys, thinking the protagonist is contradicting them, beat him up. After the beating, they go to the courtyard where they are bathed and change into the institution's clothes. It's all weird until during training, someone falls, and we all know what awaits them. Although the protagonist endures it, he can't take it anymore and tries to escape. While climbing, he remembers how many times he disrespected his mother. Maybe he deserves to be there. However, no matter how much he wants to escape, he can't because there's no way out at the top. Shortly after, the instructor realizes the protagonist is missing, so he sends all his colleagues to search for him, and our guy knows what awaits him, so he's about to jump. The purple-haired guy from before appears and tells him not to jump, that a great life awaits him. The protagonist almost falls thinking the guy is crazy, but fortunately, the purple-haired guy grabs him and slowly, through his sadistic words, makes the protagonist regain consciousness, and he doesn't fall, not even close. I almost crapped myself from the scare too, but now we're calm. The purple-haired guy asks the protagonist to join him, but our guy doesn't respond for the moment. Instead, he makes jokes, saying that the purple-haired guy is a woman and receives some slaps. Obviously, he's a man, but he also looks like a girl. The mysterious guy, seeing that the protagonist is thinking about girls, asks him to look through binoculars at the football field. Why, you might ask? Well, the girl he chooses will be his girlfriend. What a deal. Obviously, our protagonist doesn't waste the opportunity, and among many hotties, he chooses a girl who he apparently knows because they went to high school together, and according to him, she would never pay attention to him. Too bad. The purple-haired guy mentions that she will be his girlfriend and that he just has to wait. Now the protagonist is his accomplice to prove his power and influence. When they go downstairs, he easily talks to the instructors, making them believe that the protagonist went to the bathroom. Not much time passes before he convinces them completely by saying that now our guy is his dog, leaving the instructors surprised, and they leave, with the leader saying that he's now under his responsibility. What's going on? I don't know. But seeing the protagonist now doesn't see what the purple-haired guy said on the roof as impossible, that his friend will be his girlfriend, so now our guy is excited. Meanwhile, the leader instructor is a bit angry and goes to his boss, who apparently has another boss who laughs sadistically, especially about how useless the leader instructor can be. Back with the protagonists, they arrive at the football field, and here the purple-haired guy tells one of his friends a secret. Suddenly, a girl arrives with a blade and threatens the bully, making it clear that he shouldn't bother the girls. This is the girl that the purple-haired guy promised to be the protagonist's girlfriend. She easily beats up the bully's friends. The protagonist would have received a stone to the head if he hadn't intervened and took the hit instead. The girl surprises everyone by knocking out the bully, and then the instructors arrive to calm the situation. The girl asks the protagonist to pick up the stone so that no one trips over it, and they recognize each other. Remember I told you these two already knew each other because they went to the same school? Well, now they recognize each other. Back to the protagonist, he goes to the infirmary with the girl to see her injuries. Meanwhile, the leaders of the correctional facility are in a meeting, leaving the leader instructor humiliated once again. Returning to the protagonist, as mentioned, he goes to the infirmary with the girl. The protagonist, all in love, asks her if she remembers him, to which the girl just wants to cut him down. The skinny girl approaches the girl who was being harassed and tells her that her phone now belongs to her because she needs it more. She also hands her a knife to use for self-defense if she's in danger, or alternatively, to use to kill herself. Seeing this, the harassed girl gets angry and throws the knife since she's not prepared for that. The protagonist intervenes and tells her that it's not like that anymore, but he almost gets sliced by the girl. Then, the purple-haired guy arrives, and, surprise, he had the phone. So, the two girls fight over it, and the purple-haired guy proposes a condition. Whoever wants the phone must be the protagonist's girlfriend. What a deal. In short, he's enforcing the proposition he made on the rooftop. Our lucky guy is pleased. The harassed girl approaches and flirts with him just for the phone, and obviously, the protagonist wasn't expecting her. Nevertheless, he agrees since he doesn't care who it is. Then, the purple-haired guy starts revealing the truth about the girl. She's a thief who stole from her parents and a cyber-crazy who scams men out of their bank accounts to get this phone into the facility. She even flirted with a guard. Seeing that she's been exposed, she wants to attack but ends up crying out of fear. Meanwhile, the purple-haired guy and the girl are a bit annoyed because apparently the phone he showed was fake, and the girl wanted to get rid of it. However, the purple-haired guy mentions that he has another phone and asks her to make the protagonist fall in love with her. With no other choice, the girl accepts. With this, I mean maybe a few kisses and more, and our guy's adventure begins. He's either lucky or not because just when it seemed he would finally kiss the girl, she feels nauseous just by looking at his face. Poor guy. If that happened to me, I'd cry. The girl obviously doesn't want to step back, so with a heavy heart, she kisses the protagonist and then throws up. Meanwhile, the purple-haired guy is outside with the real phone and analyzing the girl. Back with the boys, who couldn't get their kiss, the girl responds that it's not him but her who suffers from something, as whenever a guy touches her, she throws up. The protagonist, seeing her sadness, tells her he'll help her get out of there and promises to give her a phone. I guess he'll pull it out of his, well, you know. After a long time, everything calms down, and finally, the girl comes out. As I told you, the protagonist asked Sonic to give the phone to the girl, so everything is fine. On the other hand, we see a bully leading a group to attack the protagonist. What's going on? While this is happening, we're back at with these guys who are talking until the protagonist treats the guy as a close friend, a grave mistake. He grabs him against the wall and reminds him that he's now his dog. Although the protagonist endures it, he doesn't take it well and tells him that he's nothing to him, then runs away. While crossing the courtyard, he daydreams about a life with the girl. Silly guy. By the way, we see that the purple-haired guy was expecting such a reaction. Meanwhile, the protagonist arrives at his sleeping quarters, which initially seemed unpleasant. However, upon searching for his dormitory, he encounters a guy who shows him his new group, apparently very good people, to the extent that they take a photo together. I don't know what he was thinking. He's in a correctional facility, so they don't beat him up but send him to buy food for them. Upon reaching the cafeteria, he planned to buy some expensive dishes, but they cost too much, so he opts for cheaper ones, noticing that no one eats the best food. However, does buy the expensive ones as he has enough money, and starts teasing the protagonist, saying that if he were his dog, he'd eat the same. Obviously, our guy refuses and leaves. Upon returning to his room, he is teased by his friends who expected a feast. Just to annoy him, they make him eat the unpleasant food, and after that, the guys in the room once again tell him to buy them food since he's the purple-haired guy's subordinate. In a foolish move, our protagonist says he refused, which obviously angers the others as they expected to benefit from him. They were about to beat him up relentlessly, but nothing too serious. These are just virtual fights. Our protagonist wins, thinking he has super strength, punches the wall, and breaks his arm. However, the other guys get up to beat him, but once again, the protagonist knocks them down, proving that they are malnourished due to not eating much, giving what little they have to the strongest. Seeing the protagonist finally arrive, they hoped to get some food but couldn't. The protagonist then visits the instructor who showed him to the rooms and confronts him about the strong guys who take their food, as he's like an instructor and can do whatever he wants. The instructor scolds the protagonist for complaining and lets him go. Our guy goes to the courtyard as it was time for formation. Unfortunately, the protagonist's first class is physical education, so he'll suffer to advance. We see the leader of the group being bullied as if it's nothing, and the leader instructor mentions that everyone must always be up by 7 a.m., with curfew at 9 p.m., all very strict. Also, students who excel will receive benefits. Thus begins the intense training. We see them running non-stop, doing frog jumps, push-ups, planks, and so on. So everyone here started exercising non-stop while the purple-haired guy was chilling around. We'll know who he is soon. Several people collapsed during the training and received their fair share of hits. Among them were the malnourished guys, whom the protagonist, upon seeing them being beaten up, opposes and tells the instructor all his truths. Obviously, the instructor wouldn't stand for it and was about to strike him when out of nowhere, our guy dodges it and ends up drawing blood. We're going to die. Calm down. The protagonist is the protagonist after all. He takes the blows, enduring. Are you telling me you're not subscribed to my channel? I'll give you 3 seconds to subscribe, comment, and leave your like. Activate the bell notification. Meanwhile, our protagonist, who was at his limit, was saying to them that the instructor is bad and that people outside will find out what they do there. And it dries up until out of nowhere, the waifu appears, who was there to save him, and she grabs him by kicking and punching so that the instructors wouldn't hit him anymore. Smart, isn't it? Of course, but the protagonist has a long beak since he starts shouting that all the instructors are cavemen who will go to jail. Big mistake. The waifu hits him even more, to his impotence, making things worse, as he drops his phone. So now the waifu's words to the instructors don't count, all because of the protagonist, because having a cell phone in that place is like a sin, and if that wasn't enough, the instructor, in his hatred and anger against the protagonist, to show him that he only knows how to talk, grabs and orders everyone to lie down. Unfortunately, because of the protagonist's fault, his friends are beaten up, while the waifu is also punished for having a cell phone, and so all the girls in her class slap her nonstop. Poor thing. And after all this, the protagonist regrets how insolent he is, so he keeps apologizing nonstop. A few minutes after all the beatings stop, and the instructor tells him that's what will happen if he continues like that. Also, after that, the waifu, as a last resort, mentions that he should never come near her again. Well done. How useless the protagonist can be. So, the purple-haired guy approaches, and the protagonist asks again to be his dog since he can't go on like this. The guy refuses, but after the protagonist doesn't stop insisting, he gives him conditions. 1. Become the leader of his class. 2. Remove the position of disciplinary officer from the bully of the men. And 3. Reach a summit. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but if he fulfills those conditions or requests, he will be his dog again. And well, if he's with him, he'll rise in rank in the correctional facility. So, right off the bat, the protagonist returns to his room and here he says that from now on he is the leader. Obviously, everyone laughs. For this, he had a backpack full of delicious food, so he convinced them. And now he's their leader, and well, the first condition is fulfilled, so comes the second, removing the bully from his position, and just like that, the protagonist jumps and goes to his room, where he slaps him. Good one. I think that was his plan. As he immediately starts running out through the courtyard being chased, we realize that the purple-haired guy gave him some ideas, and here not much happened. While that the plota vows to dominate the whole place. Also, the next day the protagonist pretends to have learned from his mistakes, so he tells the instructor that he found the bully with several cell phones and reports him to show that he has changed. Likewise, the instructor sends the bad guy to the dungeon and congratulates the protagonist. But wait, later we see that the instructor doesn't live peacefully because when he arrives at his office the boss has a new kid to deal with, so she yells at the instructor and starts hitting him to show that she means business. What a mess. Look, maybe the instructors aren't so bad after all. It's the boss who treats them like that. On the other hand, we see a guard searching for cell phones as there seems to be something special about them. So, he extracts information from the bully guy who at first seemed to be asking for a way out, but ends up knocked out inside. On another note, we see again the protags, who are friends again. Here, the purple dude takes the protagonist to his room. But don't think bad. rather be surprised. Because he lives like royalty, the protagonist is surprised as he sleeps with 4 people in one room. Hearing this, the purple dude tells him he'll stay with him from now on, and now that he's his dog again, his next target is Class 6, apparently. This class is more feared than the protagonists, so the purple dude mentions that he will help him reach the top of the reformatory because now he'll infiltrate Class 6 and report all the cell phones they have. This way, the instructors will trust him more and give him a valuable position there. Also, by getting several cell phones, he'll finally be able to give one to the waifu. Everything seems fine. The waifu still sees the protagonist as trash, so it's better if she just watches as our guy rises in rank. And here begins the battle for protagonist's power. Returning to see the waifu, we go back to her memories of her sick brother, as we already know what it's about. Meanwhile, we see some girls ambushing the waifu and they start fighting, and our girl easily wins. Back with the protagonist, he's devising a plan to reach Class 6, so he asks his friends to fight, but they refuse and reveal to him that they won't fight anymore. Hearing this, the protagonist leaves. Back with the purple dude, he meets with the guard who is searching for the cell phone, all mysterious. By the way, we'll find out while that. Back with the waifu, as I told you, she confronts the girls who ambushed her. After being defeated, the girls apologize and introduce themselves. They propose an idea to unite their class with hers and then unite the whole prison. Maybe then they can rebel. Smart, right? Back with the purple dude, he is threatened by the guard who tells him he's already dead. Here, we learn a bit more about why he has more benefits. Also, the purple dude isn't stupid and hired a bodyguard to protect him from that situation, and he does so as he won't allow anyone to harm him. Back with the protagonist, he goes to where the Class 6 students are, and they surround him, thinking of kicking him, but no, the protagonist hits himself. Maybe he's already losing it or planning something. Back with the waifu, the shortest girl in the group reveals she has many cell phones and internet. To show she's serious about starting a revolution, she tells the waifu that her parents are dead, her brother is sick, and she caused a tragedy. How? We don't know. We only see that she has accurate information about the waifu, so our girl considers joining them. Meanwhile, the protagonist is a bit beaten up until he blurts out that the students in this class have cell phones. This alerts the instructor, who appears out of nowhere, and believing the protagonist, makes him the leader of this group. After that, the protagonist convinces the others to join him, and they agree. The waifu doesn't lag behind either, as she also starts making deals. Not much happens, and both groups exchange looks again, very dramatic, until the shortest girl in the group falls in love with the protagonist and tries to force a kiss on him. But this doesn't last long as the girls' group doesn't plan to team up with the protagonist's group, so they start fighting, and the girls easily defeat the boys. The protagonist keeps going, but out of nowhere, the purple dude appears and warns them not to mess with our guy, as he defeated the bully in his class. He also warns that whoever messes with the protagonist messes with him. Big mistake. The girls ignore his words and start chasing them to beat them up. The purple dude, not being stupid, leads them into a trap where they get wet and almost beaten up, if not for the fact that the protagonist, he defends the waifu. Likewise, we find out that the purple dude was also plotting a revolt, as he joined forces with the strongest ones and aimed to be the only ones planning the uprising, intending to overthrow the other girls. The protagonist wasn't going to let them lay a finger on them, so with all his strength and bravery, he does his best to help the girls escape. However, it didn't go well as he and the waifu end up getting caught, just when everything seemed lost. The instructors arrive, thinking that the purple dude was the bad one, not realizing that the instructor there was being blackmailed. So, it's a nightmare for the protagonist as he gets locked up in solitary confinement. While there, reminiscing about his past, he swears to change his future, and the waifus, to escape from that place since, if you didn't notice, everyone betrayed him, so he has no choice. Months pass, and we see that the protagonist becomes tougher to the point that when he's released from solitary, he easily deals with some annoying guys. Likewise, during physical education, he signs up for a battle against the best female fighter and easily defeats her. Next, he faces the best male fighter from class 6. Seeing he has a slight disadvantage, he suggests an endurance battle where the one who lasts the longest standing under the sun wins. Obviously, our guy wins. The one from class 6 tries to attack him later, but it fails. The protagonist knew what he wanted to do and stops him, making it clear that he is now their leader. Thus, the protagonist gradually starts rising in rank without stopping, fighting here and there and always winning, and they manage to leak information about abuse in the reform school. So, the press comes, and the rest is history. People storm into the reformatory, causing chaos. For some reason, the purple dude burns everything. He seemed crazy. And it shows since he apparently dies in the process. As for our guy, I don't know what he's doing there, and so, this story ends. It's a bit of a strange story, but to understand it better, watch it again, and thank you for watching.